The marble bar of the Four Seasons gleamed under soft lighting as I adjusted my simple black suit, actually a bespoke Tom Ford that cost more than my brother's car. My father's 60th birthday celebration was in full swing, and as usual, James had banished me to the bar, away from the important people. Keep him out of sight. I'd overheard James telling the event coordinator, "We can't have Dad's failure son embarrassing us in front of the clients." If they only knew that Dad's failure son owned not just Phoenix Capital, but the very building they were celebrating in. The Four Seasons acquisition had been one of my quieter purchases last year, just another piece in my carefully hidden financial empire. Still tending bar, Thomas, my sister Elizabeth called out mockingly as she passed, her Chanel dress rustling. "Oh wait, you're just sitting at one." I smiled slightly, thinking about the folder in my private office upstairs, the one showing that Phoenix Capital now managed over $500 billion in assets, including most of the wealth in this room. But they didn't need to know that. Not yet. My phone buzzed silently. A message from my chief investment officer, Sarah Wells. Morgan Stanley CEO, confirmed for 9 p.m. All major clients in attendance. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Manhattan's skyline sparkled with possibility. Each glittering tower housed companies that Phoenix Capital quietly controlled, though they thought they were just clients of my brother's small investment firm. Remember when Thomas said he was starting his own company? James laughed, leading a group of clients past the bar. Dad offered him a junior analyst position at Chin Investments, but he wanted to do his own thing instead. The irony was delicious. Chin Investments actually managed money for one of Phoenix Capital's smaller subsidiaries. They just didn't realize their big client was controlled by the son they'd exiled to the bar. "Mr. Chun," a voice whispered. "Marcus Wong, my head of operations, disguised as a bartender. Goldman Sachs executive team just arrived. They're asking for you." I nodded slightly, watching the parade of financial elite flow through the ballroom. Each of them would soon discover that their real power broker had been sitting quietly at the bar, observing and waiting. "Still drinking the cheap stuff, little brother?" James smirked, signaling the bartender. "When you're ready to admit failure, we might have a mailroom position open." The cheap stuff was actually a rare Japanese whiskey that cost more than his monthly mortgage, but that was the beauty of real power. It doesn't need to advertise itself. My phone lit up again, this time with a message from our legal team. SEC filings complete. Ownership disclosures ready for 9 p.m. reveal. I took another sip, watching my family bask in their imagined importance. In exactly 2 hours, they would learn that while they were busy mocking the guy at the bar, he'd built the largest private investment firm in history. "Thomas," my stepmother Victoria's voice dripped with false concern. "You really should consider that mailroom offer. A man your age can't keep, whatever it is you do." If she only knew that whatever it is you do involved controlling more wealth than the GDP of most countries. Phoenix Capital had spent 5 years quietly becoming the most powerful financial force in the world, though we'd kept our ownership structure deliberately obscure. My phone buzzed again. Wall Street Journal exclusive ready. Phoenix Capital emerges, the hidden giant of global finance. Ladies and gentlemen, James's voice boomed through the sound system. In 1 hour, Chin Investments will announce the largest deal in our company's history. I maintained my position at the bar, watching another wave of Wall Street executives arrive. Each of them walked past without a glance, not realizing they were passing the man who actually controlled their bonuses. "Thomas," Victoria sauntered past in her designer gown. "At least try not to embarrass us when the real financial players arrive." If she only knew that while she was planning seating arrangements, I'd orchestrated the largest silent takeover in financial history. Phoenix Capital hadn't just grown. We'd systematically acquired controlling interests in every major investment bank. My phone vibrated. Sarah again. JP Morgan CEO requesting private meeting with Phoenix Capital's owner. Should I direct him to the bar? "Keep away from the clients, Thomas," James ordered as he passed with another group. "We can't have you scaring away money with your small-time ideas." Small-time ideas that had revolutionized financial technology and transformed global markets. While they were bragging about million-dollar deals, Phoenix Capital was quietly moving billions. Through the bar's mirrored backdrop, I could see the main ballroom in full swing. My father, William Chun, holding court like a king who thought his reign was eternal. If he'd bothered to check the ownership structure of his recent clients, he might have noticed they all led back to Phoenix Capital. "Sir," Marcus murmured as he polished glasses, "Goldman CO is getting impatient. He's never met Phoenix Capital's owner in person." I nodded slightly, watching the room fill with financial elite. In less than an hour, they'd learned that the failure at the bar had built something beyond their comprehension. "Look at him," James told his banking friends by the bar. "Dad gives him one simple instruction: stay out of sight. And he acts like the bar is his office." My phone lit up with another message, this time from our PR team. "Times Square billboard secured for 9 p.m. reveal." All financial news networks aligned for simultaneous coverage. The Chun Investments logo still dominated the ballroom screens, its days numbered. Soon it would be replaced by the Phoenix, a symbol I designed during those early days when they'd first pushed me aside, claiming I'd never understand real finance. "Thomas," my father's voice cut through the bar noise as he approached for a drink. "At least try to look professional while hiding here. You're embarrassing enough as it is." "Yes, sir," I replied quietly, thinking about the documents waiting upstairs that would show my ownership of his firm. "Just keeping to myself." He snorted, adjusting his Hermes tie. "A skill you've certainly mastered. To think you could have been something at Chun Investments. Instead, I became the man who bought your company while you weren't looking." Sarah's message flashed on my phone. All major financial media in position. Client list prepared for release. Through the windows, I could see news vans gathering. They thought they were here to cover Chun Investments' latest deal. Instead, they'd witnessed the emergence of Phoenix Capital from the shadows. "Everyone gather round," James called out. "Dad's big announcement is almost here." The bar began to clear as guests headed to the main floor. Each of them would have a perfect view when the truth was revealed. Marcus appeared one last time. "Sir, all systems go." Every major financial news outlet standing by. My father's voice carried from the center of the room. "Tonight, Chun Investments proves why we're Wall Street's rising star." I finally moved from my bar stool, straightening my Tom Ford suit. Around the city, financial newsrooms prepared to break the story of the decade. Then it happened. The Goldman Sachs CEO walked in, spotted me, and everything changed. "Mr. Chun," he called out, loud enough for the entire room to hear. "An honor to finally meet you in person. Phoenix Capital's acquisition of our Asia division was masterful." The room fell silent. The silence was deafening as every head in the room turned toward the bar. James stood frozen at the microphone, his big announcement forgotten as the Goldman Sachs CEO continued. "Your strategy for the Morgan Stanley merger was brilliant," the CEO said, oblivious to the tension. "Phoenix Capital's control of global markets is unprecedented." "Thank you," I replied calmly, standing from my bar stool, though we preferred to keep our involvement quiet until tonight. As if on cue, every screen in the building switched to the Wall Street Journal's breaking news. Phoenix Capital revealed. The hidden giant that controls Wall Street, Thomas Chin's $800 billion empire emerges. That's impossible," James stammered, his expensive tie suddenly looking cheap. "Thomas just has that small trading account." I smiled, pulling out my phone, the same one they'd mocked as outdated. "Actually, brother, Phoenix Capital controls more wealth than the top 5 investment banks combined. Would you like to see the numbers?" The ballroom screens switched to live data feeds. Phoenix Capital's true portfolio, our global reach, an extensive list of financial institutions we quietly controlled. But we checked every major player. Elizabeth's voice cracked. "Your company didn't even show up in the rankings." "Because I didn't want it to," I replied, watching their faces as realization dawned. Phoenix Capital operates through thousands of subsidiaries, including, I might add, Chun Investments' largest client. My father stumbled forward, his usual confidence shattered. "The institutional account we just landed is owned by Phoenix Capital," I confirmed. "Just like this building, half the properties in Manhattan, and most of the companies you consider premium clients." The Wall Street Journal headline continued scrolling. Phoenix Capital manages over $800 billion in assets, controlling interests in every major financial institution, and a technology platform that has revolutionized global trading. Victoria clutched her champagne glass like a shield. 800 billion? But that would make you the most powerful private investor in history, Sarah said, emerging from the crowd in an impeccable suit. And that's before announcing our acquisition of Chin Investments. The financial reporters in the room had recovered from their shock and were broadcasting live. In an unprecedented revelation, the mysterious Phoenix Capital has been unveiled as the controlling force behind global finance. Its founder, Thomas Chun, who his family had banished to the bar during his father's birthday celebration. Sir, Marcus approached, now in executive attire. The Fed chairman is on the line. He'd like to discuss tomorrow's market implications. Through the windows, Times Square blazed with Phoenix Capital's logo. The same logo James had called amateur when I'd shown him my business plan 5 years ago. All this time, Elizabeth whispered, while we were mocking you at family events. I was building an empire, I said quietly. Every major financial transaction in the past 3 years, facilitated by Phoenix Capital. Those mysterious market movements Chun Investments couldn't explain? All us. James made one last desperate attempt. The clients won't stand for this. They trust Chun Investments. Do they? I raised an eyebrow, projecting another set of data. Check your client list against Phoenix Capital's subsidiaries. You've actually been working for me for years. You just didn't know it. Sarah approached with a tablet. The SEC filing is live. Chin Investment stock will be suspended at market open, pending integration into Phoenix Capital. And speaking of integration, I continued, every Chin Investment employee will receive 2 options tomorrow. Join Phoenix Capital with doubled salaries and equity, or accept a generous retirement package. Unlike some people, I believe in rewarding talent regardless of family connections. Victoria's social climbing instincts kicked in. Thomas, darling, surely we can discuss this as family. Family, I turned to her. Like when you made me sit at the bar, or when James suggested I belonged in the mailroom. The screens showed Phoenix Capital's true scope, financial technology that made traditional banking obsolete, investment strategies that had quietly reshaped global markets, and a corporate structure that prioritized innovation over inheritance. Tomorrow morning, I addressed the stunned room. Phoenix Capital begins its public phase. Chin Investments will be rebranded as a boutique division, its strategies updated, its culture transformed. My father found his voice again. You'll destroy everything I built. No, Dad. I'll improve everything you couldn't imagine. While you were teaching James how to network, I was building the future of finance. While you were hosting parties, I was revolutionizing global markets. The son you banished to the bar? He now owns the entire building. Sarah appeared again. Sir, Asian markets are opening. They're requesting guidance on the transition. I checked my cheap watch, the same one James had mocked an hour earlier. Tell them Phoenix Capital's protocols are now in effect. And prepare the conference room for tomorrow's global staff announcement. The ballroom had become a media circus, with cameras broadcasting the transformation live across the world. Through the windows, the Phoenix Capital logo glowed bright against the night sky. Its wings spread wide over what was once Chin territory. Mr. Chun, a final reporter called out, one last question. Why keep your empire hidden for so long? I looked up at our logo, thinking about the years of careful planning, the quiet acquisitions, the patient wait for this perfect moment. Because true power doesn't need to announce itself, I replied. Sometimes the best way to build something extraordinary is to let others think you're just the guy at the bar. While they were mocking my position, I was quietly buying every chair in the room. As my helicopter lifted off from the building's helipad, my building now, I looked down at the transformed skyline. Sometimes the person they relegate to the bar becomes the one who owns the entire establishment. Sometimes the greatest victory comes from letting them think you're hiding while you're actually conquering. And as for that bar stool, I think I'll keep it. After all, some of the best deals in history were made by someone everyone underestimated, sitting quietly at the bar, building an empire while they weren't looking. The Phoenix continued to rise across the city, each glowing emblem a reminder that sometimes the most powerful person in the room is the one they told to stay out of sight. The next morning, headlines across the globe told the story that would reshape financial history. Phoenix rises. How a hidden billionaire built his empire from a bar stool. The power of silence. Thomas Chin's $800 billion secret. From bar to boardroom, Wall Street's new king. Chin Investments offices were buzzing with activity as employees discovered their new reality. The doubled salaries and equity packages sparked celebration among the staff, while the executive floor remained eerily quiet. James's corner office, the one he'd bragged about for years, was being transformed into a quantum trading center. Elizabeth's prized boardroom would become a global strategy hub, and my father's elaborate executive suite, the new employee wellness center. Sir, Sarah reported, 97% of staff have accepted Phoenix Capital's offers. The remaining 3% are mostly from the old executive team. I smiled, thinking about the lessons in humility that would follow. Sometimes the best view of success isn't from the corner office. It's from a quiet spot at the bar, watching, waiting, and building something revolutionary while others are busy showing off their borrowed power. As I took my seat in the main conference room, formerly my father's private dining area, I couldn't help but appreciate the symmetry. The son they banished to the bar now controlled not just the drinks, but the entire financial world's flow of capital. The Phoenix had risen, and its shadow would forever change the landscape of global finance.